Welcome to PQ, or Professional Quotient. I'm your host, Jason Winningham, and today we have a very special guest, Audrey Malone. Welcome, Audrey. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
I'm Audrey, your multi-hyphenate operations professional who has had a very colorful professional experience in a myriad of backgrounds, and I am here to talk about my PQ with my friend Jason. So let's get started.
Absolutely. Well, in the professional quotient realm, we like to define our PQ as our ability to use and wield our personal portfolio of professional equity, which is our skills, our knowledge, our education, our experiences, and our network. Out of all of those things, what would you say has the highest value to you right now?
I would definitely put my experience as having the highest value for me. And my experience is because when I say I have had a very colorful professional resume, it is very colorful. I have done media communications. I've had my own radio talk show for a year and a half. I have done web TV series hosting and productions. I have Hollywood credits as an executive producer for a short film. I've done crisis communications. And this is all while I'm navigating regular 9 to 5 jobs, right? So, you know me from CBRE. In the past 6 years of the commercial real estate. But prior to that, I was doing administrative work at the University of the Virgin Islands. I was doing office coordinator work at Super Insurance in the Virgin Islands. I also have 10 years in hospitality and tourism, having worked for Marriott, Starwood, Wyndham, IHG, you name it. I've worked for the hotel company, and I've had a myriad of experiences that lend to me being who I am. And I just leverage each of it in different aspects. So my experience is probably paramount.
That is a very robust resume and experience. So I love that you've shared that much with us, Audrey. And I'd like to touch back on the fact that you said you did a lot of these things in addition to a 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever, however you worded that. Let's talk about that. A lot of people I feel have to put in or want to put in time in addition to a day job on side projects, on passion projects and all that. So tell me about what that looked like and how you really handled having that much going on.
It's like playing Tetris with your personal time. It really is like being Tetris with your personal time. But for me, having my experience or my stronghold in communications was equally important because when I started my career, I wanted to be working for Essence. I wanted a job at Essence, and I wanted to be able to work for Ebony and BT and navigate into that space. I'm one of those sought after people that you see on the red carpet. That was my goal. So working in communications alongside with my 9 to 5, that's where I was going. I was, the Virgin Islands is going to see me on TV somewhere, being a correspondent, doing something, right? So I needed to pursue that passion as best as possible and make it happen. But along the way, the dream changed. The dream changed into something a little bit more community focused. Like I still wanted to be in communications and media, but I wanted to serve my community more. So I wanted to do more projects that touch my community. And my 9 to 5s paid for my passion projects. Because when you're doing something for your passion, for your heart, the coins don't always come. Okay. So my 9 to 5 supported the fiscal responsibilities for my passion project. So I I didn't do both of them full time. I made sure I had a full time job, the project on the other end could not consume any more than 30% of my additional time because your girl likes to sleep. She likes to enjoy the beach. She likes to go out and have a good time. So there's no way I was doing 100% of both.
And that makes sense because we are finite creatures. We don't have an infinite amount of time. We don't have an infinite amount of energy and resource. We have to make choices. And sometimes we have to be able to put something down so that we can rest, recuperate, give our mind some space to rest.
And listen, me and my bed have a beautiful relationship.
Mhm.
I like my sleep.
totally understand and definitely feel the same. So tell us, what kind of field would you describe yourself as in now?
So the field I'm in now is the field of unemployment. That's what I'm navigating right now. And it's not the first time I've navigated unemployment. It's the first time I'm navigating unemployment after coming from a pretty successful career navigating commercial real estate and being a part of corporate programs that impacted culture, impacted change, being a part of client contracts that impacted their culture and their operations and how they move and navigate. So it was interesting to have what I had in commercial real estate for 6 years and all my other successes to now being unemployed, right? Navigating unemployment in this stage of my life is different than navigating it when I was 20. You've learned a lot more, but there's also more people who are navigating the same thing as you that you can look at their stories, listen to their stories, and you find that professional support because it is rough. It is rough out there.
Absolutely. And you certainly aren't alone. This is probably one of the highest times where so many people are in the market all at the same time.
Yeah, it is tumultuous.
Mhm. Can I ask you what your day-to-day looks like while you're in the market for your next thing? How are you going about looking? What kind of tips and tricks would you share with other people? Um, Share with me what you've got going.
So I am happy that you asked that because I do spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the resources I use to look for my next gig or my next career move. I also Indeed and a few other non-traditional sources. And we are in the age of everybody has an opinion. Everybody has something to write. And I get on LinkedIn and I see at least a dozen posts a day saying, if you are unemployed, if you're navigating unemployment, you should be doing this. You should be leveraging your time of unemployment as a full time job. You work for 8 to 9 hours. You need to set your day every day for 8 to 9 hours. And this is how you should navigate your unemployment and whoopty whoopty blah, blah, blah. Right. And I'm sitting to myself like, honey, go touch grass. Please. And I say that with all the professionalism and love. Like, I decided intentionally this time around, I was going to touch grass. I was going to go outside. Because when we're working, I think we all know the statistics of when we're working. We spend 85% of our lives at our jobs. So many of us who are parents in the workforce, they've missed pivotal moments in their kids' lives. They've missed opportunities to go on vacations. They've missed connecting with family members. And the same thing has happened to me. Like my family lives everywhere. So being unemployed, I said, you know what? I'm going to do it different this time around. Yes, I am going to look for my next job because I'm not in the place where I can retire and live off my money. No, I'm not there. I'm going to look for my next job, but I was very intentional of saying I'm also going to spend time with the people I have missed. I traveled to the Virgin Islands to spend time with my family at Christmas. I haven't done that in years. I don't know, it was the last time I saw Christmas in the Virgin Islands and I went home for Christmas. And then I went to Vegas for New Year's to see Bruno Mars. And then I came back and forth to DC and I was able to move. I have been wanting to move within my professional career for so long and I was not able to find the right time to do it. And in moving, it also opened up a new tribe for me. My friends who are here, my colleagues who are here, the network is expanding. So I intentionally am finding ways to reach out and network with people in real time, even if it's just to walk through the park, go to the museum, do nothing that has to do with a job search, and build community. Because building community is what is going to get me where I need to be. The job will come. I know it'll come, but you have to have community of some sort to get through this unemployment. Because it's like I said, it's rough. It's rough.
I heard a friend once say that it is not what you know, it's not even who you know, it's who knows you. And those opportunities, that building of a community really is so foundational to being able to know about opportunities early, get your foot in the door before they already have selected a candidate. Like, because a lot of times there's job postings online that internally they already know they're going to fill it with somebody, but legally there's, we need to go through the process of interviewing at least 3 people and things like that, and so when you know someone on the inside of a company already, you can hear about those roles before they're even posted, and so I love what you're sharing here.
Slide my resume for a referral, please and thank you. Yes. And I reached out to a couple of career management recruiters. Um, and they've all said pretty good things. Like they really like how I'm navigating this unemployment and not making it a full-time job. And when I say I don't sympathize with people who are unemployed. There is true empathy for what's happening and what we're navigating. Um, there was a LinkedIn follower who shared on my post that he's been unemployed for some time, and it's taking a toll on his family. It's taking a toll on his finances, and he's reaching a breaking point, right? And that can be a reality for so many of us. And the only way that does not become a reality is if we build community. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like I can borrow money from this person. Because some people think community is about, getting what you can, but sometimes it's just about somebody knowing that you have kids and you're unemployed and saying, "Hey, I will take your kids to the park for a couple of hours, give you a reprieve." That's your time to yourself so you can be in whatever feeling you need to be in. Or knowing that, you know what? I know you're unemployed and I know it's tough. What do you need in the house? Buying a small set of groceries and not feeling like they have to repay, or just coming over and having coffee and letting that person vent, just verbally vomit and express their frustration, because safe space is necessary. We don't have enough of it. I have been fortunate enough to have friends who are going through it with their toxic, abusive relationship with the federal government. So we create safe space for each other. We hold space and we talk it through. And I'm starting to find that space virtually in LinkedIn. But for me, it's always been important having like one-on-one real touch with people, navigating however the experience shows up with real people. So yeah.
I would be amiss if I didn't step back and reflect again on how much diverse experience you have across the landscape, it sounds like. And in that, have there been challenges that you personally have had in the workplace that you've been able to overcome or circumnavigate or knock down a wall for? And if so, is there something that you could share with us to really encourage those that might have those same kinds of challenges or blocks?
I think everything that I've done, call me the Mary Poppins in my professional career, right? I show up where I'm needed. But everything I've done, I've had to knock down something in its place. Because working in hotels and hospitality, people pigeonhole you to the type of job that you're gonna have. You've worked at hotels for 10 years, you're a front office manager, they're gonna pigeonhole you to the work that you can do. Oh, you've done freelance communications, they're gonna pigeonhole you to being somebody's, production assistant. You do what we ask. And for me, it's always been, I know what I bring to the table. I know the experience that I have. And if you just give me a centimeter of space, I'm going to show you what I can do. And I would say to anybody who has a very non-traditional career path, who has non-traditional experience, take that space. Like, I know it's very cliche to say take up space, but honestly, if you see somebody leaves a door cracked a centimeter and you can shimmy all the way through it, shimmy through it. Do not be afraid to let your other talents make space for you, right? Do not be afraid to let your passions carve out a path that is specifically for you. It will lead you just so many different things, and you will have a time. I remember before I got back into radio, I was having a hard time looking for work, and my best friend was like, "Audrey, what have you done recently that really inspired you?" He's like, "What have you done to take a risk on yourself?" I was like, "Sir, do not come for me in your fragile moment. Like, who sent you? What do you mean?" He was like, "Yeah, what have you done to take a risk on yourself?" He's like, "When was the last thing you did something that made you really, really happy?" Media makes me happy. Being in that space makes me happy. You have no idea how happy I get when I'm there. Right? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna find those opportunities and I'm going to use them to make what I do better. Because something about communications that people don't get, it's not, for those of us who it is a art form and a craft for, because I got some things to say about influencers, different conversation. But for those of us who take it seriously, right? When you use communications in its art form, whether it's you're on radio, you're producing web series, there is an art to it. And that art is transferred to whatever else you got to do. Because a lot of people have issues speaking in public or speaking in crowds. When you're in media, you ain't got no choice. You need to know how to talk to somebody, whether it's for 2 minutes or 2 hours. You gotta figure it out. And if you're on the smaller side of it, even if you're doing production assistant, you're around people and you see them doing what they can best, and you automatically take notes because people who can control a room just by being in it or just when they open, you automatically learn lessons. That's why people love Denzel Washington so much, right? That's as well. And you take those nuggets and you transfer it to your other career. And then you become the type of person that can own a little bit more space, that can talk your ideas into rooms, or you can just show up being more present of yourself and carry it through. There is, in DE&I, there's this whole thing, bring your authentic self to work. And we carry that. But nobody really knows who their authentic self is.
Because it can kind of change sometimes. My authentic self at church is going to be a different authentic self than when I'm hanging with my close friends on a Friday night. It's neither is untrue, neither is inauthentic to me, but the authenticity itself has different flavors. My authenticity at 5 a.m, if I'm waking up to an alarm, is different from my authenticity at 9 a.m. when I'm present for a meeting and ready to go.
But varying authenticity to the side, there is something about the work that I've done in media that allows me to figure out who the person in the middle is. That person that exists when everything else is happening.
Yes.
That authentic person, I try to tap into a lot more and bring her to the front.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
she can be too much for some people, but that's okay.
We have to be able to bring that authentic side where we go, because if we don't, people aren't really getting to know us anyway. They're getting to know some facade that we're building.
Yeah, we're gonna
And
get like Aaron Burr and Hamilton. Who
yeah,
wants
that's nothing. That's not real. It's not upbuilding. It's not something that truly connects people. So I love that call out on that, and it's so true. And to be able to have those spaces where we know that we can come in, because we have to kind of it's something on two sides almost. Like we have to be able to come authentic, and then we also have to find spaces that allow us to be authentic, and then there's this balance of finding where we belong. And maybe if we go to a zone where you can't be your authentic self ever, then you just know that's not gonna work. I'm gonna keep looking.
It is challenging, but it's possible.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because for as many ugly voices as we hear out there that don't want to get to know the real people, there are just as many, if not more, people who are willing, if we're ready for them, and whose hearts are open. And I feel like we're in a culture shift right now where in, the media, we might hear of all the ugly parts of it, but from the one-to-one connections that people from our LinkedIn networks, I'm still seeing that we're moving in the right direction with love and harmony and welcoming and inclusive.
The needle is still going to the positive side. It is still teetering over to positive side and over to change. We just have to get it there.
And it takes all of us for sure to keep going in that direction. So tell me, what do you do to keep yourself professionally sharp, to continually raise your PQ, so to speak?
I'm what you would call like the constant student, right? I always find opportunities to learn different things. And I was having lunch the other day and I was telling this young man, my bartender, he said he was telling his coworker about what he wanted to do for his daughter and the life that he wanted to live. He said he wanted to get a house. He wanted to live somewhere where it had its own water source and he wanted to live off the grid. And I want that for him. That sounds lovely. There was a nugget of information that I had that he needed to have. And I stopped him. I asked him, I said, do you know what water futures are? He was like, what? I was like, yeah, water futures. I said, do you know what they are? He was like, no. I said, well, water futures are this current new investment where people will invest in water and water is sold across the globe. And I said, something about the dream that you had, be mindful. If you live somewhere that has its own water source, water futures will affect that location.
Interesting.
Yes, it's not being talked about, but there are a lot of small towns who are losing their water because water futures allow people, because it's unregulated, it allow companies and investors or vultures to come in, pump all that water out in trucks, take it in the dead of night and sell it overseas. And then the second issue that we're having, and people blame it on AI, but this is a different conversation, is that when you set up server plants in those areas, water usage increases. So not only do we have people taking water out of small towns, we also have server spaces using a lot of water. And then we also have skyscrapers, commercial real estate, we see them go up. We're a part of the making them go up. Skyscrapers use an exponential amount of water per hour just for AC and drinking water and toilet and chillers and everything. So we use water constantly, but we don't talk about it. And right now the focus is blaming it on AI. So I had that conversation with him and he was like, man, where do you get your information from? I said, any place that is not the television, sir. Specifically, I have always been fond of Scholars by Google. That's where you find peer-reviewed research papers on whatever is out there. If you have something in your head that you want to talk about, somebody's written a peer-reviewed paper on it. There is scientific documentation, there's scientific research, and it will lead you to all the different places where that information is hosted. And then you go from there and you find the other, like, you know how people don't like to read like the bibliography on the back of a report? I do. I read that bibliography because I'm like, where did you get your information from? And I go and click and you go down a rabbit hole, but it is so much more insightful than what Western media and Western television, the media woman talking about Western media and how it is very biased. But it's more insightful and you learn more that way.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's always going to broaden your horizon when you are looking at sources and doing those deep dives into. I find myself going down wormholes, I call them, of just like constantly wanting to learn a little bit more about something and until I become not really an expert at it, but I could talk somebody's ear off about it if they gave me the space and time.
For Jeopardy for 500, what are water features, Alex? I will win.
Now I'll at least get a 250 on that one if I can. So thank you for letting me know. I look forward to looking that one up later.
You're welcome. So I tend to do the rabbit hole thing and the wormhole thing, but you have to know, like, you cannot be in on this earth without learning more and trying to understand your place on this earth as a human, as a good human, and what's going to come next. Because everything affects all of us. It's not, we're not in a silo. What happens on the left affects the right. What happens on the right affects the left. You cannot be moderate. You gotta take a stand somewhere or you're going to fall for everything. So I try to research as much as possible, and then remember, I don't know everything.
None of us do. We're all on that path to learn more. At least I hope we're all on that path to learn more. That's certainly the point of this podcast, is so that people can be hearing from others and learning from the struggles that we're sharing, so that perhaps they can have an easier time navigating the professional landscape, as it were. Um, Before we sign off for this conversation, I'd love to hear if there's any additional thoughts or something you'd like to spotlight. I love to give my guests this opportunity.
What I want to spotlight truly is just take things at the pace that you should and not at the pace of everyone else, right? I find that with the way the world is going and how we can so quickly jump on false news bandwagons, and we can make false narratives a part of our DNA. Like, I want people to take the time professionally and personally to go at the pace that you are supposed to go at. What is for you will not pass you. What is for you will not be left behind you. But you might have some catching up to do. And some of that catching up will mean you've got to unlearn things that you've learned. You've got to unfriend some people that you've befriended. And you might have to go no contact with family members. And that is going to be rough. But if you pay attention to who you are and the person that you want to be, and you do it at your own pace, you will have a lot more success, and you will see a lot more wins because you're being for you. And I think a lot of that comes from my mentor in my head, Carolyn Wanga. I just love her and how she navigates her space. She also said on one of her talks, she said, "Do not change who you are, change where you are." So if you cannot be who you are in whatever space, you need to change where you are. That is something that I'm like, yes, it makes sense.
That is very solid advice. Thank you. Thank you very much, Audrey. And also, I guess my final question would be, is there anybody you would recommend that we bring on as a guest on the show that you would like to hear from?
Oh my God, there are so many people that I have that would be great additions to the show. But I think somebody that I know would be a really good addition is she's also in the media space, but she's also in the nonprofit space. Her name is Hayeza Quinones. She is a girl boss who girl boss so hard. And she has a successful podcast for the diaspora. For I'm biased, she's from the Virgin Islands. She's also a really good friend of mine. But her success in the podcast space and also her success in her professional role in Arizona both came at like staggering rates, like accelerated very quickly. She girl boss so close to the sun, y'all, like very quickly. She got there. But how her story and how she got there and how she navigates it is one that's beautifully complex, and I think she would make a great addition.
Well, if you will help give me an introduction, I would love to bring her on for sure.
Sure, it'd be my pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, to our listeners here, I wanted to say that if you have enjoyed this conversation, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a positive review. To Audrey, I got to say thank you, thank you, thank you for your time today. I always enjoy talking with you, and I'm just so pleased that we found time to be able to connect here today. So thank you for that.
Anything for you, Jason. Anything for you.
Well, thank you. And to our listeners again, I'd just like to remind us that unlike our IQ or our EQ, we have a PQ that can easily be raised every single day. Just keep learning, building, and connecting. Until next time.